Hey guys, this is Tyler. Welcome to Vitriol Reviews. I'm going to be talking about the Harry Potter series today. I decided to read through the Harry Potter series for a couple of reasons. One, it's my brother's favorite series. Two, I read through the first 5 books when I was younger. I didn't like the 5th book by the time I had read it, and the 6th book came out by the point I wasn't reading fiction anymore. So I decided to just return to it to see, what all the hubbub is about, if I could find some enjoyment in it, because there are things that I enjoy that I know aren't good. There's a few Final Fantasy games that I just thoroughly enjoy. I thoroughly enjoyed the actual story of, despite the fact that they're just not very good. So I don't know why that is. I want to find out why that is, why I like certain things that aren't very good and other things I don't like at all. So I would like to read the Harry Potter series to see if that applies and if I can learn anything about my taste. And then on top of that, I recently watched a couple of Harold Bloom interviews where he talks about the Harry Potter series, and I wanted to see if I find myself in agreement with him at all on the Harry Potter series. So those are a couple of the reasons why I wanted to read this. Now, coming into this, I had read it when I was a kid, but most of my memories aren't of the book or even of the movies. It's about things that were adjacent to them. My mom used to do arts and crafts with us. We used to make wands, like Harry Potter wands. There was one point where I made an entire fake note from Hogwarts, a letter from Hogwarts, to give my mother to see if I could avoid going to regular school that year, things like that. So there's some good memories surrounding the Harry Potter series, but not quite so much about the actual books themselves or the movie themselves. So that's basically how I felt coming into it. I feel like it's one of those things that's just much more popular than it should be. That's how I was feeling coming in. So let's just talk a little bit about the books themselves. So I'll talk a little bit about the covers, not too much, because there's not too much to say. I got this box set version, the paperback Bloomsbury version. The artwork I'm not a big fan of. It's not terrible. I do like the texture of the covers. They're bound fine. However, this thing on the it's only on the first book, but it's extremely annoying. It's ugly. It's not a sticker, so you can't take it off. It's just stamped on there. I hate when companies do this. It drives me absolutely nuts. If you're going to do this, make it an easy peel sticker, just like on the Berserk paperback mangas. They have a parental advisory sticker on there, but it's easily peeled off and it doesn't leave any sort of residue on the books. So, I mean, if you're going to do that, but this is extremely obnoxious and annoying. And on top of that, these smell like glue. And if you're going to be buying them for your kids, I probably wouldn't buy this edition because of that. That's just me, though. Okay, now let's get into the actual books themselves. The writing style. Not for me, man. I did not like this writing style at all. The first 2 books especially are really bad for this weird way of writing. Like, the story itself feels like it's supposed to be for 10, 11-year-olds or whatever, at least at the beginning. However, the writing style feels like it's for 5 or 6-year-olds, or even younger, frankly. It comes off to me like an unaware stepdad who's trying to communicate with a 10-year-old stepson, and he's talking to him like he's a 5-year-old. Like, he's like, "Hey, little buddy, how's it going? High five, dude." No, the kid's just cringing out of his pants. That's how the first 2 books come across. The writing gets a little bit better as far as that part of it is concerned. Either that or I just got used to it. I'm not really sure. However, the writing, all in all, very bland, extremely bland. I felt like anybody could have written this story because there's just zero personality to the writing, zero personality to the characters. So it really feels like just anybody could have written this. And I used to want to be a writer when I was a kid. And frankly, if this was my standard of what being a writer was, I'm not surprised. I thought I could do it. It's not good. As soon as I read the introduction to Albus Dumbledore, that's exactly how I was introducing characters in my stories when I was 10, 11, 12 years old. This is a amateur writer who got hold of a pretty decent idea. And the writing is just not very good. I like to have some personality in there. You could argue that she's writing mostly from the point of view of Harry, and in that case, Harry is bland. There's just nothing there. It's like when you go to see a good movie, it pulls you into the movie. You get pulled into the movie. You feel what the characters are feeling. You get the tone because the music's well done. The cinematography is well done. This writing is supposed to be, to me, in my mind, it's very much the cinematography, the music, the sound effects, all that sort of thing. And this doesn't pull you in. It makes you feel like you're detached. It makes you feel like you're sitting in the theater watching a movie instead of being in the movie. That's how the writing style feels. I feel like it's just detached, emotionless, heartless. It's just there to be there. Things happen, and that's about it. The story and the plot, a lot of tropes, a lot of cliches, but frankly, those things don't really bother me. At least at this point, they don't really bother me. As long as they're written well, or there's something I can attach to that's other than the plot, like good characters and things like that. Unfortunately, this plot has too many problems with it, too many tropes, too many cliches, and frankly, way too many plot conveniences. She also has this issue where at the end of every single book, she has this big exposition about what you had just read. Usually taking the form of Dumbledore explaining to Harry what just happened to him. And it's just very, very bad writing. I'm not a fan of it. Again, the stories, there's just too much plot conveniences. I might go into a couple of those in the more spoilery section. Setting and world building. I honestly don't know what to feel about it. The world building, again, has way too many plot holes. The magic system, there's just too many issues with it that just make zero sense. But at the same time, I kind of enjoyed it, just simply because I've been reading and seeing too much fantasy trying to be realistic. And it's kind of refreshing to have fantasy be fantastical. I'm currently reading the Narnia series, so that also does that, and I really, really appreciate it in that one because that's actually well written. Spoiler. So yeah, I don't really know what to think about the setting in Harry Potter. It's suitable. It does what it needs to do, but again, there's just too many things with it that just doesn't make any sense. And then also the fact that she kind of has to go back and retcon and explain things through tweets and through her website is kind of weird to me, that you couldn't do that in 7 books, but that's me. Characters and relationships. Now, no character has any depth. There is 0 depth in any of these characters. However, a lot of the side characters were still enjoyable. That said, you can enjoy splashing around in a puddle. And that's about the depth you get with these characters. Pretty much every character can be relegated to their role. Harry Potter is the protagonist, chosen one, and then his fault is that he's arrogant and white knighting. Then you have Hermione, who's the smart one, but she's a little bit closed-minded. And then you have Ron, who's like the loyal one, but he's kind of an idiot and he's self-conscious. There's not really much to these characters whatsoever. And particularly with those 3, you would think you have 7 books to make them a little bit more characters. But she doesn't do that. So some of the side characters are enjoyable, but again, you can enjoy splashing around in a puddle a little bit. So, it is what it is. Okay, well, so in the end, what did I think about the Harry Potter series? Obviously not good. I don't think it's good. The real question here is whether I agree with what Harold Bloom had to say about it. And I tend to agree. It's worthy of the trash bin. It's not very good at all. It's unsophisticated. There is a lack of subtlety. Everything is very ham-fisted. Any sort of morals or ideas that are present in it, any themes that are in it, are just blatantly stated instead of being subtly there. It's not very good, and it should be only a study worthy of sociologists in the future, as Harold Bloom says. However, I don't know if I'm that optimistic. I don't know if I'm optimistic enough to think that it will be just a study worthy of sociologists as to why so many people love it and why it became such a cultural phenomenon. I am more concerned that it will be relegated to the study of literature, because quite frankly, the taste on this planet has dropped dramatically. It is not good anymore. I haven't seen anything good on TV or in film in a long time. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Most of the books that I do tend to enjoy are all older. Even the newer book that I did enjoy isn't, the greatest. It's concerning. It's concerning about how bad our taste has gotten, how dumb our children have gotten. Oh, that's another thing I would like to mention. When I talk about the writing style, I mentioned that to my brother, how the writing style is just talks down to you, and it's just not good. It's flat, it's dry, it's just meaningless. And he said, yeah, but it's for kids. Yeah, well, the Never-Ending Story's for kids. Alice in Wonderland's for kids. The Narnia books are for kids. Treasure Island is for kids. The Hobbit is for kids. I don't see any of those talking down to their readers or just being really, really bland and dull. They have personality. They have something to say. They're exploring ideas. This book is not doing that. This series is not doing that. It is what it is. I don't know what to say. It is concerning. So we'll see if I'm right. If anybody disagrees with me, please disagree with me in the comments. I think it'd be fun discussion to have. If you agree with me, let me know why. Now I'll just get into some spoiler stuff and go a little bit more in depth try and pull out some stuff that I do like about it. We'll start with Quidditch. It's not something I like about it, but we'll start with Quidditch. What a stupid fucking game. That is the dumbest game I have ever seen, and it's really reminiscent of what the book has to offer you, right? I mean, the game essentially is meaningless, at least in the first book. The third book changes a little bit, but in the first book and the rest of the books after that, it is essentially the same as the story. It's only one guy matters. The chosen one. Whatever the chosen one does ends the game. That's what actually matters. Harry Potter, once he catches the snitch, ends the game, they win, the end. It really doesn't matter what any of the other characters are doing or playing at. It only matters what Harry's doing and what Harry does. And then the game's done, that's it, game over. It's very reminiscent of her decision to go with this chosen one story. And it's a stupid game. It takes up so much time in the books. A lot of people love it. I do like the stuff that surrounds the Quidditch games and whatever. Like, it's at least something that's different. It's not just focused on the Quidditch. But Quidditch is just a waste of time. It's a stupid game. It should have taken her 3 seconds to think of a better rule system. Then we have the Dursleys. The Dursleys are actually, I find kind of interesting. To me, when I was reading it, I was thinking of them as kind of a representation of the modern world itself. Just stupid, fat, lazy. They're the type of people who would virtue signal while being assholes in their own house. Those types of people. Just rude, materialistic, all about keeping up appearances, like Mrs. Bouquet. So I did find that kind of interesting, just to draw that analogy. However, I also find it funny to think that their love of mediocrity and everything that they represent, being the modern world, is essentially what this book represents, what this series represents. Mediocrity being put up on this pedestal, this godhood status, and genius being relegated to the dregs. That's essentially where our society's at, which is why I'm concerned that this book series will not just be relegated to sociological study and will be, in fact, a part of literary study. That's concerning. What else would I like to talk about here? The Ministry of Magic. I like the fact that she's showing the corruptibility and stupidity of government. However, again, it's all ham-fisted, it's all surface level, there's no depth to it, there's no subtlety to it, there's no sophistication to it, it's just all ham-fisted. What else do we got? Oh, may as well just talk about the fact that it is a coming-of-age story. And she does use death pretty well to show Harry's growth. Throughout the series, death happens, and every time a death happens, it acts as a catalyst for Harry's growth. I think the best use of this was in the 5th book, the Goblet of Fire, or not Goblet of Fire, Order of the Phoenix, because there was 2 deaths in there, one actual physical death and one non-physical death. When Harry finds out that his father was an asshole to Snape, it's kind of like a second death of his father, the death of his ideation of his father, his idealization of his father. And that helps him start to grow and become his own man instead of trying to be his father, because he realizes his dad isn't all he was cut out to be. And so he starts trying to become his own man at that point. This was shortly followed by Sirius's death, which was Harry's real connection to his father and sort of acted as another pseudo father figure to him. So I thought that was pretty well done. I'll give credit where credit's due. I thought that was a cool little thing, but again, it's all ham-fisted and everything's just kind of like explained to you directly. There's no sort of subtlety, there's no subtext, none of it. It's very, very direct, and I feel like this story was a good idea that was in the hands of an amateur writer who maybe should have spent some more time practicing writing and maybe reading more. That's my opinion on it. Is there anything else I would like to say? Not particularly. I think that's pretty much it. As a whole, like, it's entertaining. That's what it is. It's entertaining isn't necessarily good to me. Entertaining to me, when it's just entertaining, it elicits visions of bread and circus. It elicits visions of distraction and things that aren't really worth your time. In general, it's entertaining, at least for the most part. It does meander a little bit. By the 5th book, there's about 100 to 200 pages that could have been cut out as far as just pure entertainment value goes. But it is what it is. If you grew up with this story, I can understand having the nostalgia for it and liking it for that reason. If you did not grow up with it as a kid, I have serious questions about your taste. But that's just me personally. If you enjoy it, enjoy enjoying it. Who cares what I have to say about it? That's just how it is. People are going to have different opinions on things, but that's just my opinion. I feel like it's really bad. I feel like it might be actually detrimental to society as a whole as far as the reading public is concerned. So I guess that's all my thoughts on the Harry Potter series. Hopefully this was an alright video. I stumbled a little bit here and there and didn't really organize my thoughts correctly because, quite frankly, I was trying to put this off for as long as possible because I just didn't really like this. I didn't have too much to say about it. So let me know in the comments what you thought. If you have any advice or requests for anything, just let me know. Thank you.